Okay, this is the summary of Daf Peches, which concludes the Maimer, where the Alter Rebbe pointed out that we have a question. Why is it that when Hashem gave us the mitzvahs of the building of the Mishkan, he first gave us the building of the Mishkan and then Shabbos, and when Moshe Rabbeinu related in Parshas Vayakhel, he first spoke to us about Shabbos and then about the Mishkan. So we explained that on Shabbos, a Jew has an opportunity to have an experience. On a weekday, a Jew has an opportunity to have a Shabbos experience when he davens. That just like davening is compared to a ladder, that it approaches that which is higher than it, and it draws down that which is otherwise inaccessible. So this is what allows us to have a connection with the Rtzon Ha'elyon, that is the innate will of Hashem, the purer will of Hashem, which is ordinarily inaccessible to us through Shabbos and through davening. And this is the idea of Shabbos Shabbos. That on Shabbos, when a Jew has another neshama, which is higher than even his intellect, it sits on top of his head, like a keser, it then gives him the opportunity throughout the week, when he davens, to have a Shabbos-like experience then, and to bond together the ordinary and the sacred. That is, to have chulin, ordinary, shenasa taras hakodesh, which is effectuated through the absolute characteristic of purity. And this is what Chachma has access to, which is the quality that we call Ratzon. That Ratzon is like a crown that sits on top of the head, just like there are a total of 620 mitzvahs, 613 of Torah, and the 7 of the Rabbanan, which is the numerical value of 620, which is a quality that, like Keser, sits on top of the head, is higher than Chachma. This is the quality of Ratzon that is expressed through Chachma down into the behaviors. And this is why Torah is called Torah Chesed, a Torah of kindness, because it goes from the highest level, the Ratzon, through the intellect into the behavior. And it's this idea that is similar to how Torah is developed through the dynamic of Torah Shebechsav and Torah Shebal Peh. That just like the feminine approaches the masculine, to draw out the gift from the masculine to be developed within the feminine, similarly, Torah Shebechsav is the innate masculine, but it needs to be drawn out and developed and nuanced by Torah Shebal Peh. And this is why we call Moisar Avicha, the tradition of our father, and Torah Simecha. We use another image, which is of the menorah, which has the center shaft and the 3 V shapes that shoot out from it. That the center shaft is like the written Torah, and the 3 V shapes are like the oral Torah that develop it. And the meeting point between the two is called the kaftor. It's like a button shape, that it's extra thick, because just like when you tie 2 strings together, the point of connection is extra thick. So too, that meeting point between Isarusa de la Sata and Isarusa de la Eila, the initiation from the beneficiary to evoke from the benefactor, is where it's extra thick. So now we can go back and answer the question that from the perspective of human beings, when Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching us, we first have to have the quality of Shabbos. Then we have to have the quality of the Yeriyos, of the tapestries. We have to have a general awareness of Kedusha. And then we can start having all of these particulars. The Kalim, the Shulchan, which is also represents Torah, because they put the breads on the Shulchan, and Torah is compared to bread that nourishes us and is embedded within us. In contrast, when Hashem gives it to us, he first speaks about the Kalim, the Pneumius, and then the Yeriyos, we work outwards. But since a Jew can't just get the Yeriyos right away in the Makif, Hashem has to express it to us in a manner, first of Tzimtzum, the very particulars, which are the Kalim, the utensils, which are outside of the Holy of Holies. And then from there, when we get the very specific instruction, we work backwards to the broader until the highest level when we can have that kind of intense relationship. That essentially ends this mimer. There's another mimer on the bottom of this page on the left-hand side that starts and asks the question, why is it that the pasuk says that we should take a truma leHashem, and then it says also a truma havai? What are these 2 levels of truma, and what are these 2 ideas? So we started to explain using the imagery of the relationship of the neshama to the body, that the most profound illustration of the neshama is within the brain, because the brain has the receptivity to that level of intensity. Lesser so in each of the Eivorim, each of the limbs. So the hand has the capacity for dexterity and for crafting and for writing. more so than the foot, because the foot can, quote, only provide mobility. And yet there's, of course, a great virtue there. And the consequence, or what we can see from all of this, is that each of the limbs has the level of godliness that is measured properly to their capacity. And we conclude on the top of Daf Pei Tes, on the right-hand column at the end of the first paragraph, the rest of which we will continue in the next class.